Good. Inform lang ako ang ubang sections for now. Okay, I'll be out this afternoon. Nagpa-check up ko kay sabi akong ubo. Third day na yata. Magdawat ang multitest o ganun na iubo. Okay kalintura. Okay pa man akong taste. So, I know it's not COVID. Wala na yung radyo lagi. Oh, dito ako so, context clues. Today we'll have context clues. Wala pa taka-discuss much of context clues, no? The control. Ayan. Okay, I'll be sharing this document. Ato ang first exam would be about our first exam would be about the readings na to, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So just focus on the first chapter. So have you read it already? Kinsa na nakabasa na? Who among you have read past chapter 1? Anybody? You haven't started it yet? Okay, so ano ko ninyo? Okay lang?
Yes po, sir.
Yes po, sir.
So nobody has read it yet. So try to read it for starting tonight or today. Anyway, chapter 1 lang naman. Okay, then our exam would be based on that individually. So I'll give the instructions probably within this day on how to do with it. Please sa'yo naman ang exam is more of looking for words there that needs to be defined or be used in your own sentences. Then observe 5 differences between a rich dad and a poor dad. And of course, you include your own insights, your realizations from that chapter. Sikaling yan na lang. Okay, now my questions. Ang permits ninyo, you have to post it in the permit section. If your permits are delayed, then you would have to submit a letter to the consultation section asking for consideration. Okay, so let's begin. I wait for message ako. Okay, sige, I can post this video later to the other sections. Okay, share screen. Screen. And okay, all set. Automatic naman sila makasunod mo. So I disabled the waiting room. Okay. Wala lagi ako ng... Okay, so today we'll discuss about how context clues are used. Excuse me, I'll be barking from time to time. How do we move this? As upon just slide. Okay, context clues, building word awareness. Okay, so we'll be talking about definition, synonyms, restatement, contrast, explanation, examples, and inferences. So, what is context? So, most Americans can speak only. Who would like to complete this paragraph? Only one blank. Europeans, however, blank several. As a result, Europeans think blank are unfriendly and unwilling to communicate with them. So, can you complete the paragraph by putting out the missing words? Would like to try. Guess lang, guess.
I would like to guess, sir.
Sige, go. Start it.
So, most Americans can speak only one language for that, and Europeans, however, speak several. As a result, Europeans think Americans are unfriendly and unwilling to communicate with them.
Okay, let's see if his answer is correct. Okay, very good. So even though there were no, how were you able to find out the answer? How did you figure out the missing word?
By the ano sir, ang structure yun sa ihang ano sir, mag-speak man meaning nagaano siya sir na relation sa language sa word pa lang na speak daan. Then
Correct.
yeah.
What
Then
else?
dito po sir sa however several meanings sir kana ga-infer po siya sa kadang kung unsa tong ginang sa Europeans, which is guess na ko sir nga speak. However, several naman, then girelate po na ko siya sa third sir, which is mo to sir ginrelate lang na ako sir.
Okay,
From
very good. So
murag nay clues which is sir. Unsa?
so you are looking at how you are looking at the background words or the muna yung tawag na context. By determining the context, you can predict what the word is. Okay, so very good. So that's how context works. Okay, so context is like the background of the word. So what is context? Is the use of words surrounding the unknown word to help determine the unknown word's meaning. So it should not be our instinct that every time we encounter an unfamiliar word, for example, that you check the dictionary right away. So the first thing you should do is check the context first. Okay, check the background or the environment of the word, because somehow that gives lots of clues as to the possible meaning of the word. If the context clues doesn't work, then you have to do another strategy, which is word structure. Sometimes you can decode what the word means by determining the structure of the word. So that is if you are familiar with how prefixes, infix, or suffixes work and what do they mean. For example, the word is detoxify. Okay, what does the prefix D mean? DE. Anybody? Such as in the word debone, deactivate, decode. So what does DE represent as a prefix? Or what does DE mean? Any idea?
Remove, sir. Remove.
Very good. So DE means to remove. That's why we have debone, meaning to remove the bone, like what we do with the bangus. Paki-debone sa bangus, diba? That's what we say. So that's to remove. So when you say detoxify, means what's the root
Trying
word?
to remove.
To remove what?
Detox.
What's
Toxin.
the toxin? That's the root word. Toxin. Toxin means
Lason.
lason or poison. Okay. So if I as a suffix represents an action. Okay, it's a verb. Okay, so therefore the meaning of detoxify is to remove poison. Wala lang. So this is the meaning of the word. So sometimes we have long scientific words, but if you are to analyze them by their structure, it it means something. So autoimmune, like for example, when you say autoimmune system, auto or automobile. Auto means any idea? What does the prefix auto means or auto? So mga auto, automatic, automobile, autoimmune. Any idea? Okay, auto means self. Siya. Mobile means to move. So automobile means it moves by itself. Ano siya? Di kinahanglan itulak, dili kinahanglan guyodon. Okay, so it moves by itself. So autoimmune, it's how it works automatically by itself. Ano siya? Immune system. So by analyzing the word structure, we'll go into that in another lesson. That gives you clues to the meaning of the words. That is if the context don't work for you. And if both don't work, the context and the word structure, then I think that's the time you have to resort to checking out the dictionary or the thesaurus for that matter, to check the synonyms of that possible word. But that should be our last resort. Okay, so context clues by definition. So a known word is defined immediately following its use. That's the usual case. When authors introduce a new word or unfamiliar word, they follow it, they set it off with a comma, and they put the definition in the middle. So either in the form of a brief definition or a synonym or a restatement using punctuation, commas, parentheses, or dashes to set it off from the sentence. Okay, so for you to determine that this part here is just a definition, a synonym, or a restatement of this word. It's not really a part of the sentence. Okay, so the be verb shows that the two ideas are the same. So, excuse me. When you say be verb, what does it mean? Sa itong mga be verbs?
Or is or an
Was
is.
there.
Are
It's an auxiliary verb.
exactly. Ah, Like I lost my controls. That is a task. Okay, so when you say is sentence r or r, so that means x is equals y. So that shows definition. Or you can reverse them and they would mean the same. Okay, so we have an example here. Tony noticed that the wallabies at the zoo look like kangaroos. Okay, so look like. Look like here is not actually an action verb. So this is a linking verb. So it functions like a be verb. So these are examples of, this is an example of a special linking verb. What are other special linking verbs? I'm going to the chat box. Aside from look, isa pa, seem, appear.
Become, I think,
Touch, sir.
Okay, so words that appeal to the senses. Touched is not action verb. It's not a linking verb. It's an action verb already. But referring to touch, it's a may tawagan na. Feels. Yan. Feel na siya. I feel awkward. Yan. Referring to sight, wala siya, look. Referring to hearing, what's the verb that refers to hearing? Anybody?
Sound.
Correct.
sounds.
Oh, it sounds awful or sounds interesting. Yeah. Words that appear to sa mga senses. Taste. Ano to? Taste mismo. The word taste. Smell. Smell po. Isa pa ba? Other words, look, appear, seem, feel, sound, taste, smell. I think become. These are special verbs that work like they work like linking verbs depending on the use. They could also be used as action words. So when you say please sound the bell, that's an action word. How do you know? If you try to replace with the be verb, so to test, replace it with what? Is or are. So yun lang. If it makes sense, then it's a linking verb. If it doesn't make sense, it's an action word. So for example, Dunkin' Donuts sounds good, tastes even better. Amo na ilang tagline. So what do you think? The word sound there, is that a linking verb? So Dunkin' Donut is good, is even better, or are even better. If it makes sense, then wow, it is a linking verb. So, but when you say please sound the bell, please is or are the bell, doesn't make sense. So it's an action verb. Okay, so here looked like, it's a linking verb. So at the zoo, so the wallabies at the zoo are kangaroos or are like kangaroos. So it's you replace this with are. Or were, okay, past tense man, were like kangaroos. And it makes sense, so therefore it's a linking verb. It's a be verb. So many people have phobias such as fear of heights, fear of water, or a fear of confined spaces. Okay. Wala siya kuan. So the word such as is a show of an example. So even though it's not direct definition, but it shows us what a phobia or examples of phobias are. So that gives you idea of the meaning of phobias. Questions? Okay, so moving on. Okay, synonyms. A writer often chooses a more familiar word or words with the same meaning, such as difficult word, which to make the word a difficult word understandable. So, okay, for example, okay. So ballet students appear so lithe. They are so limber and flexible. So yun. So this word is renamed using this two adjectives here. So the cataract was spectacular. The steep waterfall dropped abruptly 80 feet. So what does cataract here mean? May cataract put for the eyes, right? But this is a different noun. So mo na ni siya. It's a steep waterfall. Okay, so it was renamed. So it's like a synonym of that word. Okay, we can also use restatement or saying it in another way. So it's close to a synonym. A restatement differs in that a difficult word is usually restated in a simpler form. So usually they are set off by commas or they were separated by commas. Okay, so the poetry was sublime, lofty and moving. So that means this word here, which was set off by a comma before and after, is actually just defining the word sublime or restating it. So that's what sublime is. So lofty and moving and brought tears to my eyes. So you notice here that these things, when they are set off by commas, they can actually be removed from the sentence. Okay, so the poetry was sublime, lofty, and moving. So you can say the poetry is sublime and brought tears to my eyes. See? So the sentence still makes sense, even without the lofty and moving. But the reasons why the author or the writer puts it there is to define or to restate sublime, in case you don't understand it. Another example here, the village was depopulated. So what does D again represent? Remove. Okay, so populated, so therefore to remove the population or to remove some people in it. O, diba? Mas dali lang siya i-samtun. So the village was depopulated, most of the residents dead or moved. But the livestock remained untouched. Ayan. So it was depopulated, meaning both of them either they died there or they were just moved or they moved. Okay, using contrast is using antonym. Antonym is a word of opposite meaning. So this is an example here. Notice the restatement. So contrast two words, we use this. That gives us clues that the next few words would be a contrast to the first one. So we have but, however, in contrast to, or on the other hand. So for example, the gentleman was portly, but his wife was thin. So even though we don't understand what portly means, because there's a contrast here using but. So what was the opposite of thin? It's portly would represent something similar to fat or heavy, probably. So the mayoral candidate praised the town council, but the mayor deprecated it. Okay, so opposite siya sa appreciated, no, and deprecate. To deprecate means opposite of praise. Probably means to
Disapproval po, sir.
yon, to disapprove per a person. Yeah. So take note of these signposts for you to understand it better. Okay, we can also use some explanation of words. Okay, similar to a definition clue, they follow after the word, a short explanation of what the word means or what the concept means. Then generally longer than a definition. A definition would last probably like just one sentence, but the explanation would go beyond that, probably a paragraph, a long paragraph to explain a particular concept, or a few sets of sentences. Okay, usually found in one or more different sentences. Yeah. Okay, so context clues, explanation. So we have an example here. The chrome is beginning to corrode and it shows signs of pitting and of eating away gradually. So it was a martial parade. So here, corrode. So what do you mean by corrode? So showing signs of pitting and being eaten away gradually. So mo to siya meaning sa corrosion. Ayan. Then we have a martial parade. Then we have a colon here. So when you see colons, oh my. Okay, we have 10 minutes. So when we see colons,
Sometimes given examples po, sir.
yes, exactly. So that's shows as an example. Signs of the military were everywhere. Everyone was in uniform. Guns, cannons, and tanks were on display, and jets flew overhead. Okay, so these are the composition of a martial parade. Okay, next. Sometimes the explanation is presented first. The puppy was a complete bother and an annoyance to all the neighbors. It was a continual nuisance. And so you see here that nuisance came in last, but the explanation came in first. Okay, using examples. Para na akong ilong. Examples that the reader may know to help explain a new and unfamiliar concept or term. So sometimes we really needed that. For example, example ano? We see the word. Okay, so note the punctuation clues. So we use commas or hyphens to define or to set up the examples. Okay, signal words. And you use here a hyphen, such as, for example, for instance, to illustrate specifically. Yeah. So one of mga signal words that we use. So even this sentence alone is a very good example because it uses hyphen to show what are the signal words in this case to show example. Okay, legumes such as peas and beans produce pods. Okay, so yan, examples yan. So basta mga such as. Okay, forest floors are frequently covered with fungi. Then we have the dash here. So it shows what are the different types of fungi. So we have molds, mushrooms, and mildews. Okay, next we have inference. So when you say inference, they use reasoning and prior knowledge to connect. So your experiences provide common sense clues to the meaning of a word. So this context clue is often a little harder to spot because it allows you to pause a while, analyze, and then come up with short conclusions about the given information. So that's what we call inferences. So for example, since Reginald was nervous, he brought his rabbit foot talisman with him to the exam. Ayan. So he was nervous. So the talisman here is something that is a solution to his nervousness. Okay, so sa to pa murag anting-anting or lucky charm. His alibi was upheld when John's friends offered personal testimony, letters of documentation, and 3 videotapes showing that he was present at the party. Okay, so alibi here represents to means any of these things. So alibi could be an excuse, but it was upheld. Limitations of context clues. So context clues only give the immediate definition for that particular context. Context clues seldom lead to a precise, complete definition. So sometimes the passage will not contain clues to the meaning of the word, of the unfamiliar words. In this case, you would have to check the dictionary. Okay, if these things don't work for you. Okay, so applying what you have learned, can you define the unfamiliar word? He seemed quite free and easy with a few friends at large parties. But at large parties, he was quite inhibited. So inhibited, you can determine, name the context clue that helped you. So we have here quite free and easy, right? So that's the positive one, but, so meaning it's a contrast of these words. And therefore, this inhibited is a negative or the opposite of free and easy with friends. So you notice there, what was the signal word? It was the but. So to show contrast. Okay, so the definition of the unfamiliar word is controlled or restrained. And so the context clue was contrast, the signal word was but. So another example here. Embassies typically follow well-established protocols or accepted procedures for seating guests at a government dinner. Who would like to do this? How do you analyze this sentence? You have a few minutes left. Anyone who would like to try? What do you think the word protocols mean using the context here?
Procedure po, sir.
Yun. Okay, so what do you call that procedure? What do you call that strategy or context clue? You notice the word or? So meaning, what did the sentence do? How does it help?
It provides synonyms, sir, for the
Okay,
word
synonyms.
protocol.
Okay, exactly. So direct synonym of protocol is accepted procedures. So definition. So pwede siya synonym, but in this case, pwede po siya definition basta or. Yan. Or a restatement with some help of the commas. Pwede po siya restatement. So it would fall on any of those categories. Okay, corona refers to the outmost part of the sun's atmosphere. Ma-define ba ninyo ni? Another definition. Facets, small flat surfaces at different angles. Yan, so that's the meaning of facets. It was set off with a dash. Bring out the beauty of a diamond. So you can tell if it's a definition because you can easily remove that part and still the sentence would still be complete. Facets bring out the beauty of a diamond. Okay. Context clue is a straight definition. Second, context clue is definition or restatement. So the punctuation helps. And so can you define the unfamiliar word? Most condiments such as pepper, mustard, and ketchup are used to improve the flavor of food. So what type of context clue is this? Notice the word such as. It shows
Giving examples. Po, sir.
Why?
example. Very good. Okay, basta such as. So condiment is a flavor enhancer used to spice up foods. So because the examples given are flavor enhancers. So the context clue was an example clue with the word such as. Some city dwellers are affluent, others live in poverty. So notice the contrast.
Trust.
Yes,
So
sir.
affluent means rich,
Dainty. Yes, po, sir.
well off, okay, rich or wealthy. Okay, thank you. And we're done. I'll stop the recording. We'll have less than 1 minute. We'll go back to Gmeet after this. Okay, stop share. Where's the recording? Stop recording.